Welcome to your weekly edition of me, James, standing in front of this lens and talking to you about our new coffee release at Blending Room. This week it is a natural process mixed cultivar coffee from Brazil called Cafeina, or Cafeina, however you pronounce it. I'm a little bit late to the show this week because I've been away on annual leave and I've been on holiday in Southbourne, which is kind of near Bournemouth, celebrating my brother's 40th birthday. So today is a Sunday, it's the 18th, I'm in work doing this video for you, and slightly different today, whereas I would usually have the brew prepared, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a live brewing of this coffee via the batch brewer that I was using on holiday. It's a big one, in 1.8 litre brewing, and I had a great time brewing with it. So I used a Wilfus, I used great coffee, I used Volvic water and the brew apparatus. So what I'm going to do today is actually brew in situ that coffee, talk you through the brew as I'm doing it whilst describing the coffee, and then taste the thing at the end. How does that sound? Anyhow, for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm James. I run a coffee roastery called Blending Room in Hull, East Yorkshire, and every week I stand in front of a camera and I talk to you about our new coffee release. So, welcome on board, and I'm going to do the setup now. Ta-da! Right, that was fun. Okay, so what have I got in front of us? I've got the Wilfus grinder that I used on holiday. I have this Technivorm Moccamaster Grand that again I used on holiday, and the various accoutrements that comes with the brew apparatus. So what are we going to do? First, we've got to weigh our coffee, grind it, and then brew it. So I'm using 60 grams per litre. This is a 1.8 litre brewer. So the mathematics are 60 multiplied by 1.8, which happens to be 108 grams. So I'm going to now dose out, and that's the language we use, dose, that's the dry coffee. I'm going to dose out 108 grams. Next, I'm going to grind this on the Wilfus grinder. So off comes the lid, in goes the coffee beans. Now, little tip here, the grind chamber doesn't hold 108 grams of coffee. Well, it does, but it's a bit of a squeeze, so I grind in two phases. The grind size is between the last two dots of filter. I'll do a little short video of that actual grind setting very shortly. So making sure that the grinder is on its master on point, let's get grinding. That's the first grind phase done, and I'm going to use the bona fide Moccamaster filter papers for the Moccamaster Grand. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tip that first bit in, and then I'm going to complete the second phase of grinding. Second grind phase done. Let's get all of that in. There's a huge amount of static. You tend to find that happens with grinding coffee. I'm just going to show you now what the actual grind size is like from the Wilfus. You can see that there are some boulders, there are some fines. For a grinder that is under 150 pounds, it's pretty good, and to be fair, at home for bulk brewing, it does a wonderful job. Now I'm going to put the filter paper and grounds into the little pot that comes with the brew apparatus. I am going to make sure that the filter paper is sat adequately, it's folded well. I'm going to shake the coffee holder just to make sure that the bed of coffee is nice and flat. Next, I'm going to put that into the brewer. I'm going to put the little lid on, and I'm going to put my water in. I'm using Volvic bottled water today purely because this is the most widely available water. It has a pretty good water chemistry, better than most others. You could choose Waitrose Essential. Now that is probably one of the best off-the-shelf waters for coffee, but you don't have Waitrose shops everywhere, and Volvic is a little more available. So I'm just going to fill it up to the black line. I could weigh the water in, but in this case I'm not. Next, I'm going to put the pot underneath and I'm going to start the brewing process by just switching the machine on. And there we have it. That will start brewing. Let's talk about the coffee. As usual, I have roasted 3 batches of this coffee for our coffee subscribers, our online customers, and those who visit us at the roastery or Beverley Market. Each of the batches were 12 kilos in starting weight, roasted on the Loring S15 Falcon that you can see behind me. I chose a total roast time of somewhere between 9 minutes 40 and 9 minutes 50. That was so that I can retain some degree of the clarity of flavor or origin flavor, rather than a long roast time that may assist in body development, or very, very quick that may just provide a fruit derivative in the cup. The post first crack development time was between 1 minute 25 and 1 minute 27 as a target time, and as you'll see, there's a fairly tight spread between each 3 of the batches. You'll also note that the roast profiles have a very similar shape too, so that was, I applied the same methodology across each 3 batches, and I tried to keep each of the outputs as similar as I possibly can, so that each purchase from each batch would be somewhat the same as the next. Now that the brewer has finished, let's dig in and see exactly how this coffee tastes. What I'm first going to do is I'm going to dig my nose in and see whether I can pick up any of the aroma from the coffee, because the aroma gives us a leading indication as to what flavors that we might be able to perceive in the cup. So, on the nose, I can smell a huge amount of caramel. There's also a touch of milk chocolate in there as well. So one imagines that I'm going to perceive those as flavors within the cup too. Once I've assessed the aroma, I'm going to allow my coffee to cool a little bit, just so that my tongue can perceive as many of the available flavor compounds as possible. And at this point, I can dig in and taste the coffee. So what I get is a huge amount of those caramels. There's a little bit of like a peanut brittle characteristic in there as well. So that's a mix of nuts and sweet character. There's a little touch of nougat in there too, and a very pronounced milk chocolate characteristic on the finish. And the milk chocolate is very classic of this area of the world, Brazil, the low altitude, and the kind of cultivars that they choose in these origins. You get a really great chocolate characteristic in the cup, and this one is milk chocolate. There's also the caramel, as I said, and a really good sweetness as well. This is a fantastic brewed coffee, and one that I think that would lend itself well for espresso too. So let's talk about how you should brew this. As you've seen, batch brew, this coffee works great. It opens up, it's easy drinking, it's uncomplicated. And because of that, it would also lend itself well to full immersion brew like cafetiere, or hybridized brewing such as the Clever Dripper on one of the other videos that I did not so long ago. For those of you who really enjoy espresso drinking as well, this would lend itself exceptionally for that method of brewing. Why? Because there's low altitude, big body, lower acidity associated with the lower altitude and cultivar selection, and just the flavor composition tends to lend itself really well to espresso, and especially for those people who like to pair it with milk. Peanut brittle with caramel and delicious milk, warm in your mouth, that sounds fantastic. Anyhow, in synopsis, this is a mixed cultivar natural process coffee from Brazil. It's called Cafeina, or Cafeina, however you pronounce it. It tastes of peanut brittle, it tastes of caramel and nougat. There's milk chocolate in abundance on the finish too. It would work super well as a full immersion, filter brew, as I've done in this video, and espresso as well, so super versatile. And that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've enjoyed a little synopsis into bulk or batch brewing, as we call it. For those of you who do have some weeks left and want to do a UK holiday, a large batch brew would work very well. And the Wilfer Svart has done a great job in the grinding too. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll see you again next week. Cheers.